Greetings and hello. The reason why children are mistreated and abused is because the gynocentric society wants them to. This is all at the behest of mothers who want to exert their social dominance and do anything they want to the child. It is also because children are tools that are used and manipulated as a way to retain female privilege. This is why the women and children phrase emerged, because women demanded these privileges and slapped in children as a diversion. This narrative is the quote "protect women" narrative, which is peddled to attack men and is based on false smearing, which reveals how women actually see men and their children. The priority of society is to protect women first, even above children. This can easily be demonstrated because women are preferred and listened to more than children. Due to society's gynocentrism, society sees children as nothing more than a toy belonging to the mother, with no autonomy of their own. The children's only purpose is to serve the mother's desires and give her a method through which to perpetuate her social dominance over. So inherently, the privilege of the mother is preferred even over the well-being of innocent young people. Children are subjected to beauty pageants, boys are subjected to genital mutilation, harmful environments that the parents bring them into, abused by the parents, and so many more atrocities. Women have the power to end all of these for good, but no, they would rather treat other people like objects. The very objectification talk the feminists and those same women flaunt in the faces of men protesting for men's human rights. So if maternal instincts existed, none of these would happen, but they do. The video could end here, as is easily demonstrated by how society, mainly women, treat children, proving the idea of a maternal instinct is just another platitude used to support female privilege and oppress men. Children are also not seen as being fully human and deserving to express themselves. This is because the women, in other words the mother, must always be the center of attention and not her plaything. Women want to control and enforce their rigid fantasies and perverted expectations on their kids, and will do so, especially when there is a gynocentric system to support it. Everything is about the mother, not the children themselves. Female entitlement demonstrates that mothers will gaslight and psychologically attack their children to keep them in a state of Stockholm syndrome. Women can easily love their kids, so that these psychological issues inflicted by the mother can be avoided, but they choose not to. Instead, they keep trying to exert their social dominance over the child even when they do not approve. So what is this talk about consent? It only applies ever to the adult female sex, but never to everyone else. This is on purpose, as the world is designed to be gynocentric and bow to entertain the whims of women over the actual well-being of society itself. The talk about keeping the children safe and protecting the children is all a nonsense facade. This is to only pay a lip service to the approved narratives that women provide. It is a scapegoat to attack innocent men that women do not like when there is no threat to the children themselves. Again, this is the false framing that society cares about children the most, when reality shows a different picture. It is another scheme of social dominance used by mothers to smear an out-group of men, and for their men to steal their resources and give the women privilege, not for any good of the child. This talk about children being abducted and kidnapped by men is a lie. Most child trafficking is perpetuated by women and mainly targets boys, not girls, as the media proclaims. These narratives are peddled to distract from the fact that women use and exploit their children as pawns for their own validation. Why don't these people address the fact that boys are routinely having the most sensitive part of their genitals removed through circumcision, or that innocent children are being traumatized through being used as pawns in divorce proceedings? The fact that society covers up these problems speaks volumes about how they really view children. Anything the mother wants to do to the children is allowed, even if it harms them. This is caused by a feminist system which privileges women, while taking rights away from men and children. Feminists have not done anything for children besides signal for FGM bans, which were successful, with their other campaigns consisting of spreading attacks against men and not actual children issues. However, they purposefully left out male genital mutilation, which happens to boys at 6.5 times the rate, even using inflated statistics for females provided by feminists. Therefore, the purpose of feminism is not to protect all children, but to spite men and boys wherever possible. Mothers also enforce gender roles onto their sons. This has been proven with studies finding that boys have a higher incidence of being told that boys don't cry with mothers than fathers. This is training the son to suppress his humanity and take abuse from women. This is not love but spite and the woman showing her social dominance and privilege. Any mother who does this is low-life scum beneath even the cockroach scuttling in the sewer. This is where the gynocentrism and abuse towards men and boys starts, in the household with the mother. The mother indoctrinates the son on how to quote treat women, in other words, how to provide privileges for women, or else women will deselect them. Of course, this is all done under the guise of the gentleman talk, so that the boys would still be deluded as to the true nature of women. But either way, the gynocentric bias is ingrained, and the boy becomes another pawn for the mother and the female collective to use as they see fit. So men do not naturally enforce these gender roles onto boys, unlike mothers do. Children, no matter if they are boys or girls, all are pawns for their mothers. This is proven where women use their children in custody battles to extract as many resources from the father as possible. And these resources won't go to the children, but the mother will use them all for herself. Whether or not the mother is happy with her children is all that matters, not the individual child's dreams, wishes and personality. Mothers mold children to their liking, and if psychological trauma occurs during the process, the mother does not care because women are programmed to favor themselves over anyone else. Also, this brings up the human rights violation of child support. Child support is what the courts make the father pay, because let's face it, it is to punish the man for the choices of the woman to kick him out, under the disguise of paying for the kids. This is false because mothers use that money for themselves and not on the children. Plus, the father is not even allowed to visit his children, in many cases. If children's best interests were placed at heart, there would be enforced co-parenting with the children spending equal time with both the mother and father. But no, feminists and society's goal is to punish the man no matter what. Children are also seen as devious and are maliciously attacked. This is because they take time to care for and effort to get to know on a personal level just like any other human being. So, as a quick excuse to further devote time and energy to upholding the mother's privilege, society deems children to be brats and devils. The thought goes that male children need to be abused into being gynocentric tools, ready to throw their identity and life away at the command of a woman. Mothers do not want to know their children, as their only goal is to exercise social dominance. This is why effort is not put into raising children, as no one cares, and just wants a quick fix, in order to go back to pandering to themselves in the case of women, or bowing down before a woman. Children are only there to be seen. This is all because the women want it that way, as they view their child as another version of themselves. So it automatically leads to dehumanizing and attacking the child for her egoistical urges. Feminism leads to the dehumanization of children and putting the women above them. This can be seen in real life with child abuse going ignored until the victim finally dies at the hands of the mother. So, the goal is not to raise a happy and healthy child, but to raise one that fulfills the mother's demands and shuts up and panders to her. Also, boys are the biggest target of such demands. They are indoctrinated that they are worthless, and they need to put up with abuse from day one. The mother raises them to be attack dogs for the female sex, by wiping out any personal interests they have unique to themselves, and demanding a masculine role. Also, boys make up 60% of victims when parents decide to murder their children, so the narrative that girls are abused more than boys is false. It is the other way around. Boys are seen as disposable pawns only there to serve the mother, so any abuse can be levied at them no problem, but girls are seen as soon to be uber-humans when they hit puberty. Also, the egoic purposes of the parents, mainly the mother, dominate when considering to have or having children. The parents' version of an ideal mini-me permeate their minds, and not actually wanting to have a relationship with the human they created. Again, this is due to women's wishes and desires being above children's vitality and sapping any creativity to turn the boys into crushed shells of themselves, whose only goal is to find a woman to tell him that his existence is valid, while doing the same thing as his mother, usurping usury out of him. This state of affairs is what leads to children's rights being ignored like they are now, and gynocentrism is the root cause of it, by placing the mother's harmful vision above the feelings of the growing human being in the family. Mothers also privilege other women and believe their false accusations above even their sons. They are willing to believe other women and give them the benefit of the doubt over even their male children. This shows just how misandric and hostile mothers as a whole are to their sons, that they discard them immediately when any trouble shows. Just like how the mother brought them up to be disposable, she disposes of them in favor of a woman who is a stranger at that. This is why a true men's rights movement is needed to recognize and expose this, as it will also tackle those two issues at once, as they both are rooted in gynocentrism. Also, where were the mothers protesting when their sons are sent off to die in war, or have to register to be drafted? Nowhere. Because it serves them for their son to die in a war, so that they can be the recipients of privileges and luxuries. By now, the idea of a maternal instinct that mothers magically have will seem laughable to you if you have a sane mind. Female privilege and male welfare cannot go together, as female privilege, which is upheld by false paradigms like maternal instinct, goes towards sacrificing males for females, which the mothers support. Mothers are the ones who have the sole power to sign on the form to mutilate their sons' genitals. Mothers are the ones who demand boys fall into gender roles, and mothers are the ones who throw their sons under the bus at another woman's whim. Clearly there is no love here at all on the mother's part, just the instinct to show their male children who is boss. That mothers have no care at all for the children, particularly their male children, and the children are just objects to them. Any other excuse for the abuse of children in this way is just a false post hoc rationalization. It is an empty disguise that leads to nowhere but masks the problem and enables the current gynocentric paradigm. The final blow in the coffin of the maternal instinct notion is that when given the choice, women just do not want to have children. This is why birth rates are low in more developed countries. If a woman claims she does want to have kids, it's not to give birth to a human and love them unconditionally. It is to further their own ego and above all exonerate them. Women operate with other women as they have in group bias and uphold their privilege, which is proven by how common it is for children to be harmed whether physically or mentally. The issue of men's rights also applies to children's rights as well. By taking away women's social privilege and other things that keep men marginalized, female privilege is reduced as much as possible. This would inevitably reduce women's abilities to brainwash and attack children for their egoic purposes. Therefore, less children would be traumatized psychologically, and a step forward will be taken to recognizing children as actual people, alongside men. As long as feminists stay in power, more and more children will get hurt due to sadistic mothers.